Room 6. The storm began as a drizzle, then quickly became a wall of rain. My windshield wipers couldn't keep up, and the old car coughed before dying altogether on a desolate stretch of highway. I tried my phone. No bars, no towns, no gas stations, just a flickering neon sign down the road. Pine Hollow Motel. I hated the look of the place immediately. The sign's glow was a sickly green, buzzing like an insect. A row of low, flat buildings sagged under the weight of time, their windows dark, curtains drawn. I pulled into the cracked lot. My headlights caught a single payphone leaning at an odd angle, wires exposed like veins. The office was worse. Inside smelled of damp carpet, old smoke, and something faintly metallic. A single fly buzzed lazily under a flickering light. The man behind the counter didn't smile. His skin was waxy, his hair thin and colorless, and his eyes, they looked glassy, like marbles. "Need a room?" he asked, voice too low and flat. "Just for the night," I said. He slid me a heavy brass key with a tarnished tag. Room 6. The number was scratched nearly away. "Don't open the curtains," he said without looking at me. I tried to joke. "Motel policy." But he didn't laugh. He just stared until I picked up the key. The hallway was dim and smelled like mold and something sweet and rotten. Wallpaper peeled like dead skin. Room 6's door was splintered near the handle, as if someone had tried to claw their way out. Inside, the room was small, cold, and strangely damp. The brown curtains were drawn tight and pinned at the bottom. I set down my bag and tried my phone again. No signal. The TV only showed static. The silence in the room felt too thick, like the air itself was listening. That's when I heard it. A faint scraping on the other side of the curtain. Slow, deliberate, like fingernails dragged across glass. I froze. The clerk's warning echoed in my head. The scraping stopped. Then came a whisper. "Open it." The voice was thin, like a child's, but warped, like it was coming from underwater. I backed toward the door. The knob was ice cold, so cold it burned my skin. My breath came out in visible puffs. The whispering grew louder, splitting into multiple voices, some pleading, some commanding. "Open, open, open." Against every instinct, I reached for the curtain and pulled it just an inch. Outside wasn't outside anymore. The rain, the parking lot, gone. In its place was a black void, depthless, with a faint movement like smoke. Pale hands pressed against the glass from the other side. Too long, too many joints, nails like splinters. They groped and twitched, reaching for the gap I'd made. I slammed the curtain shut and stumbled back, heart hammering. The voices stopped instantly. Silence returned, heavy and suffocating. Then came a knock at the door. "Everything okay in there?" The clerk's voice. Relieved, I yanked open the door, but the hallway was empty. No clerk, just wet footprints leading away from my door. But they weren't shaped like feet. They were long drag marks, as though something had crawled away on its hands. I locked the door again and sat on the bed, shaking, until dawn crept in around the edges of the curtain. When I finally dared to leave, the hallway was spotless, the air fresh as if nothing had happened. The lobby was empty and covered in dust, the front desk deserted, as though no one had been there in years. Even the neon sign outside was dark. My car started on the first try. In the rearview mirror, the motel vanished behind a bend, but for a heartbeat, I thought I saw pale fingers curl around the edge of the curtain inside my rear window. Sometimes when rain lashes my windows at night, I hear them again. That soft scraping, that whispering chorus, waiting for me to open the curtains. Room 6. The rain had been coming down in sheets all evening when my car sputtered, coughed, and finally died on a lonely stretch of highway. The wipers squeaked one last time before freezing mid-arc. With no bars of signal on my phone and only endless dark trees on either side of the road, I had no choice but to walk. I trudged toward the only light I could see, a dim neon sign flickering at the edge of the road. Motel Haven, vacancy. The place looked like it hadn't seen a coat of paint in decades. The sign buzzed faintly, casting a sickly green glow across cracked concrete, rain-pocked puddles, and sagging curtains. Only 3 cars sat in the lot, their windows fogged as if no one inside had moved in a long time. Inside, the lobby smelled of mildew and something faintly metallic, like wet coins. A dusty ceiling fan rotated lazily overhead. The man at the front desk didn't look up when I entered. His head was bowed over a faded guest book. His skin looked waxy under the fluorescent light. Without speaking, he slid me a key attached to a heavy brass tag. It read, Room 6. I hesitated. He finally looked up and said in a low voice, Checkouts at dawn. Then he looked down again. The room was worse. Old cigarette burns scarred the carpet. The wallpaper was bubbled and peeling from water damage. A single dim bulb flickered overhead, casting long, jittering shadows on the walls. A warped mirror hung crooked above a dresser, its glass faintly cloudy, as if someone had breathed on it moments ago. Still, exhaustion won. I locked the door, set my bag down, and sat on the sagging mattress. Rain tapped steadily against the window. At around midnight, the sound started. A faint scratching at the wall behind the bed. Slow at first, like a mouse, but deliberate, as if a fingernail dragged slowly down the plaster. I pressed my ear to the wall. Someone was on the other side. Then came a whisper. Low, ragged. My name. My heart stopped. I hadn't told anyone I was staying here. The scratching stopped. The whisper didn't. It was coming from the bathroom now, the door slightly ajar, darkness beyond. I reached for my phone to use the flashlight. No signal, no power. The bulb above me flickered once, twice, and went out. The whisper turned into a voice, hoarse, angry. Get out! I bolted for the door, but it wouldn't open. The chain had slid across by itself. My fingers fumbled at the latch, slick with sweat. Behind me, the bathroom door creaked open wider, slowly, as if pushed by invisible hands. Something stepped out, tall, wrong, blacker than the darkness around it. Its outline rippled like heat waves, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. I didn't look back again. I yanked the chain free, tore open the door, and ran to my car through the rain. My keys clattered to the pavement, and it took everything not to scream as I snatched them up and jammed them into the ignition. The engine caught on the second try, and I sped off, heart hammering. When I finally glanced in the rearview mirror, the neon sign flickered once more. No vacancy. And for just a second, in the glow of that sickly green light, I saw something standing outside room 6, watching me leave. The vacancy. The rain had been falling in thick, cold sheets for hours when I finally spotted the flickering neon sign. I'd been driving all night, every mile of the highway darker and emptier than the last. My phone had been dead for an hour, my GPS frozen, and my eyelids felt like they weighed 100 pounds. By the time the crooked sign, vacancy, appeared through the storm, it felt less like luck and more like a trap I couldn't see yet. The motel crouched at the edge of the road like a secret someone had tried to bury. The paint had peeled in long strips, revealing gray wood underneath. Curtains hung limp in the windows, and the green glow from the neon sign spilled across puddles in the parking lot, tinting the water an unhealthy color. Only one car sat in the lot, a dusty sedan with no plates and condensation fogging its windows from the inside. The office door creaked when I pushed it open. The smell hit me first: wet carpet, stale cigarette smoke, and something metallic and sour like rusted pipes. A man sat behind the counter, his head bent over a yellowed newspaper. The clock on the wall ticked too slowly, each sound echoing off the damp walls. "I need a room," I said, voice rough from hours of silence. Without looking at me, he slid a brass key across the counter. It was heavy, its tag scratched and tarnished. "Room 7. Checkouts at dawn," he muttered, and only then did his eyes flick up to mine. They were glassy, as though he wasn't really seeing me. I walked down a hallway lined with sagging doors. The carpet squelched faintly under my boots, as if it had never fully dried from some past flood. I could smell mildew growing somewhere behind the walls. My room was halfway down, the number hanging crooked on its nail. Inside, the room was dim and close. Peeling wallpaper revealed brown plaster underneath, the ceiling stained with old leaks. A single bulb dangled from a cord, its light shuddering. A warped mirror hung over a dresser, its glass clouded like someone had breathed on it moments before. The window rattled with each gust of wind. I locked the door, dropped my bag on the floor, and sank onto the sagging mattress, telling myself I'd only close my eyes for an hour. At some point I drifted off, but it was the sound that woke me, not the rain. This was slower, deliberate, something scratching at the wall behind the bed, a long, dragging fingernail, then another, the sound of someone who wanted to be heard. My breath caught. There was no adjoining room. I pressed my ear to the wall anyway. Something whispered through the plaster. My name. I bolted upright, heart hammering. I hadn't told anyone I was here. The whisper moved from the wall to the bathroom. The door stood cracked open, darkness yawning inside. The bulb above me flickered once, twice, then died, plunging the room into shadows. The voice, hoarse and wet, spoke again. "Checkouts at dawn." The bathroom door creaked wider, inch by inch. My heartbeat roared in my ears. A shape stood just beyond the frame, darker than the dark, its outline wrong. Too tall, too thin. It tilted its head as if studying me. I lunged for the door, fumbling at the lock with trembling hands. The chain had slid across by itself. My fingers were slick with sweat as I yanked it free and tore open the door. The hallway outside flickered too, shadows stretching and twisting. The air smelled of wet earth and something faintly electric, like a storm about to break. I didn't stop running until I was in my car, slamming the door, engine roaring to life. My headlights cut through the rain as I sped away. Only when I was a good distance down the road did I dare to glance back. The neon sign sputtered and changed, no vacancy. And just for an instant, in the glow of the green light, I saw a tall black shape standing in the office window, its head still tilted, watching me drive away.